Hey guys, Andrew Logan. Great to be with you here for another video. And today I want to talk about going full time in your network marketing business. Obviously, this is a freedom business. This is a dream-based business. And for a lot of people, one of the very first kind of major goals is to leave their job and do this full time, to have that ability to have choice in their life, essentially. You know, for a lot of people, it's sort of, they start just wanting to get their products paid for, get their money back, all that kind of stuff. And then that builds to having a nice side hustle income. And then one of the really big kind of major goals for people is that, I'm earning enough that I can go full time and I get that choice. I can wake up whenever I want, I can live my life, and I can be my own boss. And obviously it's really, really exciting, but we also see a lot of people, as soon as they leave their job and as soon as they go full time in their business hits a wall. And it's a great post, obviously on their social media, it changes and there's a lot of celebration and their life has a lot more freedom in it. But there's also people who will do that and then very quickly they discover they've got to go back to work. And then when they do that, there's obviously a lot of negativity. People in their workplace are kind of laughing at them and saying, see, I told you so, and all those sorts of things. So we want to avoid that. So I want to go through 5 things that I see, sort of 5 of the major perils that I see when people do go full time. Because obviously if we can identify these problems, we can avoid them. And we can take steps to protect ourselves so when we do make that transition to full time, our business continues to grow, we continue to grow, and we continue to have success, and we turn a great business into an amazing life. And that's really the big thing. That's the thing I love to really talk about, is let's actually get this network marketing business model, let's get this extra income that you have, but let's turn it into freedom. Let's not just have 6 or 12 months out of the workplace, let's have financial freedom for the rest of our life. So let's talk about the first one. So when you go full time, when you sort of transition into that point where you are able to go full time, what we tend to find is generally you're on your own. You're pretty much the only person who's able to do that. And so it can be something where people tend to find that they're sort of, they fall into this routine where they're just stuck at home, and we stop leaving the house. And when we do that, we stop meeting people. So our kind of funnel goes dry. We sort of stay at home and we fall out of a lot of these habits, a lot of the habits that we were in, where we were going to work, but then we were going out to lunch and we were meeting people and we were going out during the day, and all of our network are still working. And I remember this one specifically, I had this dream of going full time and I achieved it, and I bought the golf clubs. I always had this goal of don't buy your golf clubs until you're full time. And then I bought these really nice golf clubs as a birthday present to myself and as a financial freedom present to myself. And then no one else was able to play golf. And so I kind of, got a little bit annoyed and went to the driving range a few times, but I just found I was sitting at home because everyone I knew was still at work. Now, what that meant was that I started to fall out of the routine of meeting people, and it actually became a hassle and a burden to go out and meet people. And I found I actually had to kind of go and really structure my day around getting out of the house. And suddenly, instead of just naturally getting out of the house and getting out of the house and getting paid to get out of the house, really, I was finding that I was having to pay to leave the house, and it became this weight on my shoulders all of a sudden. So for a lot of people, they're fine with this. I mean, you may not, as I say, you may not hit all of these 5 things, but this is one, especially for, people who don't have huge networks or something like that, and then you leave the house and you want to keep growing your network, and you're sitting there in this position where you're staying in your own little bubble. And when you do that, that's when your business can start to go backwards, because if you're not meeting new people, if you're not adding new people, and you find you sort of just get into this little management mode, and you're just like, oh, I'm just home looking after the team, and we start doing a lot of the stuff that we don't really need to do. We start getting caught up in the procrastination trap and the perfectionism trap. And I've talked about those on other videos as well. But we can find the minute we go full time is the minute we end up just sitting behind our laptop or just sitting behind our phone all day, every day. So when we lose that routine, we lose the structure in our day, and we lose the energy, and we lose the momentum. And as soon as we do that, that's when we start facing trouble, and that's when we start facing challenges. So that then takes us into the second one, is that we can lose some of that hunger too. So for a lot of people, we set that goal. And Simon Sinek talks about setting the infinite goal. Sometimes one of the problems with goal setting is once we've hit it, we feel like we've arrived and we feel like we've made it. And if we don't set another goal, it's easy to sit there and say, you know what, I made it, I'm full time. And again, we stop. And because mentally we've lost that hustle, we've lost that hunger, we've lost that drive to leave our workplace, to leave our position that we're in, as soon as we lose that energy and we're just like, oh, I'm here, okay, then that's when we lose all momentum and we lose all our energy. And our team starts to sort of look at us. And again, as I was saying a little bit earlier, if you're at home full time, potentially there's maybe one or two others at that point, but you're probably the only person in your team that's achieved that. When you reach that rank and you leave, everyone else is still hustling away. So they're gonna look at you and see that you're not really doing anything, and you're not really hustling to get on the calls anymore, and you're not really hustling to leave the house like you used to do, and you lose a lot of that drive to kind of organize the team thing and all stuff like that. And when you can lose that hunger and lose that passion, your team start to lose interest. And so they start to drop off. Now again, other people are perfectly fine with this. Other people find they've got the time and they've got the passion and they've got the self-discipline, and that's awesome. But a lot of people don't have a great amount of self-discipline. So the reality is, if you don't have the self-discipline to be your own boss, then probably don't fire your boss just yet. If you know that you need someone there kind of keeping you on track and you need someone sort of keeping you focused, then maybe you don't want to leave your job just yet. Okay, I'm not saying that you can't ever go full time, but we want to make sure our business is rock solid. Because if you know your motivation will decrease a bit, you know your drive, or you're noticing it, you have gone full time, and you've seen that your drive has decreased, it's because we've lost that hunger a little bit. It's like, I wanted to go full time, I managed to go full time, and now what do I do? And now I'm sitting around and I don't know what to do, and I lose that hustle. So I like to say, hungry dogs run faster. A well-fed dog sleeps all day. Our dog is downstairs and she just sleeps all day because she's well-fed. When she's up in the morning and she's hungry, she's running around the house looking for breakfast. And the hungry dogs run faster. And she's got to do her run before she gets breakfast, and she knows that. So she is so full of energy in the morning and she's hustling and driving for her breakfast. As soon as she's fed, she's pretty happy to sleep all day. And we see that with people's businesses too. It's like, I'm driving to leave, I'm driving to leave, I'm driving to leave. And then they leave work and boom, and then they're pretty happy to sort of, oh, I can start watching more Netflix now, I can start watching more TV now, I can start just spending more time at the beach. And we lose that hunger, we lose that drive, and our team loses momentum. Okay, takes us to the next point. We can lose our relatability. Okay. This was a really big one. This was one that I really noticed. I've always been pretty good at, self-discipline. I'm pretty driven there. I am admittedly fairly introverted, but I do know how to sort of leave the house and meet people. And, I was okay with that because it gave me more time to go and do a lot of the things I've been putting off, like joining Toastmasters, joining in gym, trying new things. And I am pretty good with my self-discipline. But this was a big one I noticed when we first went full-time, six and a half years ago. And what it was that everyone we were speaking to had jobs. Everyone we were speaking to, had a family and jobs and full-time careers and all that kind of stuff. So we'd finished, I'd sold out of the business partnership I was in, where Angie had left her job, and we're like, yeah, we're full-time. We'd moved to a new town, and we were like, oh, it's gonna be so easy. We're just gonna meet all these people, and our business is gonna keep growing because of new networks, all that kind of stuff. And what we found was the exact opposite. Because one of the very first things you do when you meet someone is they say, what do you do? So I meet someone, I'm like, what do you do? And they're like, oh, I'm a teacher, I'm a builder, whatever. And they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I run a business from home. And I realized that was a bad thing to say. I eventually realized, okay, that's a silly thing to say, I need to fix that. Because as soon as I used the word business, people thought of busyness. And they started thinking, and people would say it, and they'd say to my face, they're like, I'd explain what we do, and I'd talk about how we had financial freedom because of it. And they'd say, oh, that's great, but I work full time. I don't have time to take on another business. And then I was like, oh, I'd tell other people I'm retired. I'm like, yeah, I'm financially retired. And they're like, what, you're 35 and you're financially retired? They just couldn't get their head around it. And they lost that relatability. We lost that relatability, I say. People couldn't relate to what we had achieved and what we'd done. And so what I found was the more I was talking to people, the more we were starting to move away from being relatable to that person, because everyone we'd started joining our business with, everyone who joined our business when we started, saw me working full-time, saw Angie working full-time, saw us as parents full-time, and they saw us building this business and hustling and driving like we were talking about earlier, as well as keeping our lives going. And when they saw that, they say, if they can do it, I can do it. And that's a really powerful belief. They're like, if they can run a business and run their lives, then I can do this. I can see this as this perfect side hustle. But suddenly people didn't see that with us anymore. They were like, look, it sounds great. You've obviously achieved a lot, but I just don't have the time. And everything I was saying about running a business from home, working from home, having freedom, people just either couldn't fathom it, couldn't get their head around it, or couldn't see that it was possible for them. And two of the most important things is that people need to sit there and say, it's worth it and I can do it. Your brand new person comes in and they need to look at what you're doing and say, I can do that. And they look at the results you're getting and say, it's worth it, it's worth the hassle. So people could look at our results and say, well, obviously it works, I can see that, but I can't do what you do, because they thought we needed 8-10 hours a day to run our business, because that was their mindset. So what that then meant was that, like, how again, we weren't bringing in new people and we started to lose that relatability. And our business was just starting to contract a little bit. It did go back a little bit. And what that meant was that we started putting some stress, particularly financial. There started actually to be some stress in our business. And the reason there was stress in our business was because all of a sudden, we had gone from my income and Angie's income and our network marketing business income to just our network marketing business income. Now, we also did have some investments along the side, and I talk about that a lot more in my book. So we did have some of those safety nets in place. So it wasn't drastic for us, but this is where I see a huge thing for people, was that we realized that actually suddenly there was a burden on this business. Suddenly this business was kind of, 75% responsible for running the costs of our lives. So thankfully, again, we had these sort of 25% other income streams here. But when we started seeing the business go backwards a little bit, it was suddenly like, oh, hang on. This business has gone from actually being fun, extra, amazing, additional income stream into our life into, we were kind of like, oh man, we need to sort of reach this certain point. Otherwise, like, we might not be able to pay the bills this week. And so suddenly you start stressing over your business a little bit. And you're sitting there like, oh, that was a quiet week, and it's it's a Christmas, or it's a winter, or it's a seasonal thing or something, and the businesses go up and down, and you see those sort of down troughs, and you're like, ooh, wow, like, well, I hope that doesn't happen 2 or 3 times in a row, because I don't know if we can pay the bills this week. And that stress starts to build up. So you see people then coming back to sort of up here as well. They stop spending money, right? The first thing you do when there's financial stress is you stop spending money. And that contraction happens there. But then again, it meant you would stay at home even longer. If it costs money to leave the house and there's financial stress on your business, then you're definitely not leaving the house. And I see people stop going to events because they don't have the money to go to events. They stop traveling because they're trying to, oh no, look, business is a little bit quieter at the moment, so I'm not going to go to that event. I'm not going to get the ticket to that event. And that's the worst possible thing in the world we can do, because we stop reinvesting in our business. And as soon as there's a burden on the business and we start changing the budget around and we stop investing in our business and pouring money back into it, that's when our business stops growing. Because we're not going to the events, because we're not leaving the house, because we're not, paying for, tickets for other people, or we're not, doing little blitzes and prizes in the team, and all those sorts of things. That burden on the business actually makes the business contract. And this was the last thing then, is that once we did that, and I mean, these two are a little bit related, but when we talk financial freedom, the step before financial freedom is financial security. And this is the really big one. I mean, these two are very closely related. But when you have a working income and your network marketing business income, you have great financial security because you have 2 streams of income. And the whole point of that second stream of income is if something goes wrong in your job, it's okay, you can pay your bills because your side hustle, your network marketing business is bringing you in an extra income. Now, all of a sudden, when we quit and we go full time, we halve our financial security. So we go from 2 income streams to 1. And that halving of our security actually gets us further away from financial freedom. So whilst it does allow you to, have a little bit more freedom in your life, and you get to go to the beach a bit more, as long as you're happy to get out of the house, all that kind of stuff, you have actually put your financial freedom goals further back. Because again, the thing I really love to talk about is dreaming bigger and showing people how to turn this in more than just a little extra income stream. Let's turn this into the stepping stone to get you to financial freedom. So if there's stress in your business and you're not taking money out of it anymore, you're too scared to take money out, and you're not putting money back into it either because you just can't do that, and you're not setting yourself up that extra budget to start investing because you don't have the financial security of a second income, you slow down your financial freedom goals. And this is the big peril, that if we want to dream bigger, people say, don't be a wet blanket, leave your job straight away. No, let's be smarter. Let's show people that network marketing is the best kept secret on the pathway to financial freedom. And what we do is we stay in our job a little bit longer because it gets us out of the house, it keeps us hungry, okay? We stay relatable. They're like, you're doing this and you're doing this. Wow, that's so relatable. It takes the stress off our business because we continue to just have that extra income stream. We keep our security in place, and we can double and triple and quadruple down on putting money away into some longer term investments. And that's a really key thing. So that was something I discovered when we were sort of in this position of we're kind of a little bit of stress coming in, and we had these financial sort of backups. We had the security, but we really wanted to accelerate our goals, and we wanted to take that stress off, and I wanted to be relatable, and I wanted to leave the house. So I went back to work casually. I just did some casual shifts. And again, all of a sudden people are like, hey, how come you only have to work 2 days a week? I'm like, so we do this and we do this together, and we do them together. And people, straight away, that relatability, that interest, the hustle was there. Because again, I wasn't particularly enjoying going back to work a couple of days a week, but that hustle came back of stay here until your business is quadruple what you need it to be. Build it so big that you can't fail. So I kept going as part of my goal setting, as part of the goal to build your business so big that it could just produce all your financial freedom goals. You can invest heavily every week without stress, and it's so big that it cannot possibly fail. You can have a week where you're 75% down on your average, and you can still pay your bills. That was the thing that kept me going. So guys, I know you might not hit all 5, but I'm sure 1 or 2 of those have popped up. If you're thinking about going full-time, or you have gone full-time, be so aware of these things. Be so aware of losing that routine, losing that hunger, losing that relatability, losing your security, and adding stress into your life. Network marketing should add to your life. Time, money, freedom, happiness, all those sorts of things. If it's causing you stress, if there's anxiety because you've lost that security, you need to go back to work, guys. And there's no shame in that. Go back, find something you enjoy doing, have that as your angel investor. Basically, that's there to pay your bills, and your network marketing income buys you investments, and we stay in the saddle a few more years. We stay hungry and driven, and then we have these great investments as well. Then we can go from a good life where I get to stay at home and pay the bills to financial freedom. Because that's the really big thing. If you leave as soon as you've matched your income, we haven't actually changed your life. We've kind of got you out of the workplace, but your income level is the same. We want to dream bigger financially. We want to dream bigger wealth-wise. And that means part of that is making a lot more money. And how we do that, obviously I teach you how to do that in my book. If you haven't got a copy of my book, if you'd like a copy of my book, just click the link below, and I teach you how to actually turn your side hustle into financial freedom by really putting your money to work. So guys, I hope that helps. As always, if you got value out of this, don't forget to click like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.